Most people feel safe when they lock the door. One deadbolt, one chain, one key turned until it clicks. That small sound is supposed to mean something. Privacy, control. A line between you and the outside world. But when you rent a place, the truth is a little different. Someone else may still have a key. Someone else may know the building better than you do. Someone else may know which doors were sealed, which walls are hollow, and which locks were never really meant to keep them out. These are 3 creepy landlord stories. Names and details have been changed. Story 1. The key that opened at 2:13 a.m. Nora moved into the apartment because it was the first place that felt like a real upgrade. It was not huge. 1 bedroom, 4th floor, old brick building. But it had tall windows, a small balcony, and a renovated kitchen that looked almost too clean for the rent. The landlord's name was Mr. Vale. He was polite in a formal way, always wearing a button-down shirt, always carrying a ring of keys on a metal loop at his belt. When he showed her the apartment, he explained every detail: the heating system, the trash room, the laundry schedule, the building's old service spaces. He kept saying the same phrase: "This place has history." At first, Nora liked that. It made the apartment feel special. Then he handed her the keys. 2 regular keys for the front entrance, 1 smart lock code for her apartment, and a small black fob for the elevator after 10 p.m. Nora asked why the apartment door had both a deadbolt and a keypad. Mr. Vale smiled. Security. Tenants like to feel safe. Tenants like to feel safe. She remembered that sentence later. For the first month, everything was fine. Nora worked long hours at a dental office and usually came home around 7. She cooked dinner, called her mother, watched videos on her laptop, slept with the bedroom door open because the apartment was quiet enough that it almost felt lonely. Then one morning, she noticed something strange on the smart lock app. The lock kept a history. Every time the door was opened, closed, locked, or unlocked, it recorded the time. Most entries were normal. Unlocked 7:08 p.m. Locked 7:09 p.m. Unlocked 8:12 a.m. Locked 8:13 a.m. But there was one entry she didn't recognize. Unlocked by maintenance override. 2:13 a.m. Nora stared at the screen. She had been asleep at 2:13 a.m. She checked the physical lock. The door was closed. The deadbolt was in place. The chain was still on. Nothing in the apartment seemed moved. She told herself it was a glitch. Smart locks glitch. Apps glitch. Old buildings have bad wiring. But the next morning, it happened again. Unlocked by maintenance override. 2:13 a.m. This time, Nora felt cold before she even got out of bed. She walked through the apartment slowly. Kitchen, bathroom, living room, bedroom, closet. Nothing missing. Nothing open. No muddy footprints. No signs of forced entry. She called Mr. Vale. He answered on the second ring. Before she could explain fully, he said, "The lock system does that sometimes." Nora paused. You know what I'm talking about? The maintenance override? Yes. He laughed softly. Old software. It pings the door. It doesn't mean anyone came in. Why does it say unlocked? Because the system checks the lock position. It's technical. That answer sounded rehearsed. Nora asked if he could reset it. He said he would. That night, Nora placed a chair against the door, not because she thought it would stop anyone, just because she wanted to wake up if the door opened. She also set her phone on the nightstand with the camera pointed toward the bedroom doorway. The next morning, the app showed nothing unusual. No override, no entry, no 2:13 a.m. event. For 3 nights, everything stayed normal. Then on Sunday morning, the entry came back, unlocked by maintenance override. 2:13 a.m. The chair had not moved. The front door had not opened. But something in the apartment was different. Nora noticed it while making coffee. Her balcony door was unlocked. She never used the balcony at night. She barely used it at all. She lived on the 4th floor. The balcony faced the back alley. There was no fire escape attached to it, no stairs, no way up. Still, the latch was turned. She took a photo and sent it to Mr. Vale. He replied almost immediately. "You probably forgot." Nora stared at the message. Not, "I'll check it." Not, "That's concerning." Just, "You probably forgot." That night, she did not sleep. At 1:55 a.m., she sat on her bed with the lights off. Her phone was open to the smart lock history. The apartment was silent. At 2:12 a.m., she held her breath. At 2:13 a.m., the app refreshed, unlocked by maintenance override. At the exact same moment, something clicked inside her bedroom closet. Not the front door, not the balcony. The closet. Nora froze. The closet door was closed. She watched it in the dark. Nothing moved. Then, from behind the closet wall, came a sound like wood shifting under weight. A slow pressure. A settling. Then silence. Nora grabbed her phone and left the apartment without shoes. She went down 4 flights of stairs and waited in the lobby until morning. When she called Mr. Vale again, he sounded annoyed. "Nora, you need to understand. Old buildings make sounds." She said, "The sound came from inside my closet wall." There was a pause. Then he said, "That wall is solid." Something about the way he said it made her more afraid. Not because it reassured her, because it sounded like he wanted her to stop talking. Nora called a locksmith first. Then she called the police non-emergency number. The locksmith arrived before the officer. He checked the front lock, the keypad, the deadbolt, the door frame. Everything looked normal. Then Nora showed him the app history. He frowned and asked to see the closet. The closet was small, coats on one side, boxes on the floor, a panel at the back that Nora had always assumed was part of the wall. The locksmith pushed on it. Nothing happened. Then he ran his hand along the edge. At the bottom, behind a strip of painted trim, he found a small recessed latch. The panel opened inward. Nora stepped back so fast she hit the bed. Behind the closet wall was a narrow service passage, barely wide enough for a person. Old pipes ran along one side, electrical wiring on the other, dust on the floor, but not untouched dust. There were fresh marks, footprints, a narrow track where something had been dragged. The passage led sideways along the building. The police officer arrived 10 minutes later. Mr. Vale arrived 12 minutes after that. He was not surprised. That was what Nora noticed. Not shocked, not confused, annoyed. He told the officer the passage was old infrastructure, sealed years ago, not meant for tenant access. He said the smart lock system must have triggered because the building still had old maintenance sensors tied into the wall. But then the officer shined a flashlight deeper into the passage. There was a door, a small metal service door, painted the same color as the wall. It had a modern lock, not old, not sealed, modern. And beside it, hanging on a hook, was a key. The key had a plastic tag. Apartment 4B, Nora's apartment. The officer asked Mr. Vale why there was a key to Nora's unit inside a hidden wall passage. Mr. Vale said it was for emergencies. The officer asked why Nora had not been told there was an access door inside her bedroom closet. Mr. Vale said tenants don't need to know every maintenance feature. That sentence made the officer stop writing. Police searched the service passage. They found access points behind 3 apartments. 2 were blocked. Nora's was not. In the passage outside her bedroom wall, they found a small folding stool, a flashlight, a portable charger, and a printed schedule of tenant maintenance requests. But Nora had never requested maintenance. The worst part came from the smart lock company. When police contacted them, they said the 2:13 a.m. entries were not glitches. The lock had received an authorized override signal, not from the front keypad, from a maintenance device paired to the building system, meaning someone had been opening the lock from inside the wall. Nora moved out that week. She never slept in the apartment again. Mr. Vale claimed it was a misunderstanding. He said the old building required unusual maintenance. He said the hidden passages were harmless. But Nora said the thing she remembered most was not the passage, not the key, not even the sound in the closet. It was the sentence he said on the first day. Tenants like to feel safe. Because by then she understood what he meant. Not that tenants were safe, only that they liked to feel that way. Story 2. The empty unit next door. Marcus rented Unit 6C because it was quiet. That was what sold him. He had lived in noisy places before. Thin walls, loud couples, dogs barking through the floor, people arguing in hallways at 3 a.m. So when the leasing agent told him the unit beside his was vacant, Marcus felt lucky. Unit 6D had been empty for months. The owner was renovating it slowly. No tenant, no noise, no problem. The building manager was a woman named Claire. She was efficient and cheerful, but never warm. She walked fast, answered questions before he finished asking them. And whenever Marcus mentioned 6D, she gave the same answer. No one is in there. Marcus thought nothing of it at first. The first week was peaceful. He unpacked, set up his desk near the bedroom wall, hung a few framed posters, placed his phone on the nightstand, and set his alarm for 6:30 a.m. On the 8th morning, something woke him before the alarm. It was the same alarm sound, but it wasn't coming from his phone. It was coming from the wall. Marcus opened his eyes. His phone was still dark on the nightstand. 6:28 a.m., 2 minutes early. From the other side of the bedroom wall, an alarm chimed softly. The exact same tone, the exact same rhythm. Then it stopped. At 6:30, Marcus's phone alarm went off. He sat up slowly. At first, he assumed it was coincidence. Plenty of people used the same default phone alarm, except Unit 6D was empty. That evening, Marcus knocked on 6D. No answer. The door had painter's tape on the frame. A small printed notice said, "Renovation in progress." He pressed his ear lightly to the door. Silence. 2 mornings later, it happened again. 6:28 a.m. Same alarm through the wall. This time Marcus was awake. He stood beside the bedroom wall and listened. The alarm stopped after 20 seconds. Then came a sound that made him step back. A yawn. Soft. Human. Right behind the wall. Marcus called the building office. Claire answered. He explained what he had heard. She said, "Unit 6D is vacant." "I know. That's why I'm calling. Contractors are sometimes inside during the day." This was at 6:28 in the morning. No one would be working then. That's my point. Claire sighed, not loudly, but enough for him to hear. "I'll check the unit." That afternoon, she emailed him. "Unit 6D is secure. No signs of entry." Marcus wanted to believe her. For a few days, nothing happened. Then the sounds changed. Not alarms, not footsteps, audio. At first, he thought it was a television, a low murmur through the wall while he was trying to sleep. Then he realized the voice was familiar, his own. Marcus sat upright in bed. From inside 6D, muffled but unmistakable, he heard himself say, "Yeah, I can send that tomorrow." It was a sentence from a work call he had taken earlier that day, at his desk, in his own apartment. He stood perfectly still. The recording played again. Same sentence, same tone. Then, a second clip. His voice again. "Let me check my calendar." Then silence. Marcus grabbed his phone and started recording. For almost a minute, there was nothing. Then from the wall came another sound. A woman laughing. Not Claire. Not anyone he knew. Then his own voice again. This time, quieter. A clip from a personal call with his sister. "I don't know. This place just feels weird." Marcus stopped recording because his hands were shaking. The next morning, he went to the management office in person. Claire was at her desk. He played the recording. Her expression changed halfway through. Not fear, recognition. She asked him to email it to her. Marcus said, "No, I want to know who is in 6D." Claire said, "No one is in 6D." He asked to see the unit. She said tenants were not allowed inside vacant apartments. He said he was calling the police. That was when Claire finally looked nervous. Let me call the owner first. Marcus asked, "The owner of 6D? Claire didn't answer. Instead, she left the office and walked into the back room. Marcus heard her speaking quietly on the phone. He could not make out the full conversation, but he heard one sentence clearly. He recorded it. That was enough. Marcus called the police from the lobby. 2 officers arrived 20 minutes later. Claire tried to explain it as a noise complaint. Marcus played the audio again. One officer asked to see Unit 6D. Claire said she didn't have the key. Then the officer pointed to the key cabinet behind her. There was a key labeled 6D. Claire said it was old. The officer said, "Then let's see if it works." It did. Unit 6D was not renovated. It was empty, in the way a stage is empty. No furniture, no bed, no curtains, no boxes. A long rectangular section of drywall had been removed and replaced with a temporary panel. Behind it were cables, microphones, 2 small speakers, a recording device, and a laptop connected to an external drive. The setup was not hidden casually. It was organized, mounted, tested. The officers searched the unit. Inside the kitchen cabinet, they found a notebook with apartment numbers written down. 6A, 6B, 6C, 6E. Next to Marcus's unit were times. Work call 9:15. Sister call 8:42. Alarm 6:30. Home 7:05. The laptop had audio files organized by date. Some were from Marcus. Some were from previous tenants. The recordings went back nearly 2 years. Marcus asked who had done it. Claire didn't answer, not in front of him. Later, police told him the vacant unit was owned by the same company that owned the building, not by an outside tenant. The setup had likely been installed during renovations. The speakers were the part Marcus never understood. Recording him was bad enough, but playing his own voice back through the wall? That felt personal, like someone wanted him to know. Eventually, he learned why. The building owner had been trying to push long-term tenants out without formal eviction fights. Noise complaints, sleep disruption, strange sounds, people feeling watched, people breaking leases early. A vacant apartment made the perfect control room. No one asked questions about contractors coming and going. No one questioned covered windows. No one questioned noises from a unit under renovation. Marcus moved out immediately. He joined 2 other former tenants in a complaint against the management company. Claire resigned. The owner denied knowing about the equipment, but Marcus said he stopped caring about the legal details after a while, because the thing that stayed with him was simpler. For weeks, he had slept with his head against that wall, thinking the apartment next door was empty. And someone on the other side had been listening closely enough to know what time he woke up, then playing his own life back to him, one piece at a time. Story 3. The previous tenant's warning. Aisha found the note because the outlet cover was loose. That was the only reason. She had moved into the ground floor apartment at the beginning of winter. It was cheap because it was old. Too old, maybe. The floors sloped toward the kitchen. The windows rattled when buses passed. The radiator hissed so loudly at night that sometimes it sounded like someone whispering from the corner. But Aisha was tired of searching. The landlord, Mr. Bram, told her the previous tenant had left suddenly. "Family situation," he said. He said it in a way that made it clear he did not want questions. Aisha asked if the apartment had any issues. He said, "Only if you listen too closely." Then he laughed. She laughed too, because she thought he was joking. For the first 2 weeks, the apartment was uncomfortable but manageable. The radiator knocked. The boiler room door at the end of the hall clicked late at night. Sometimes the bathroom mirror fogged, even when she had not showered. But old apartments do strange things. That was what everyone kept telling her. Old buildings breathe, old pipes knock, old floors settle. Then one Saturday, Aisha plugged a lamp into the outlet beside her bed. The outlet plate shifted. She got a screwdriver and removed the cover. Behind it, folded tightly into the wall gap, was a piece of paper, yellowed, creased, almost soft from age or moisture. On it, written in blue ink, was one sentence: "He comes when the boiler clicks twice." Aisha stared at it. For a long time, she did not move. Then she laughed nervously, because that felt better than being scared. It had to be a joke. A previous tenant trying to be creepy. A prank. Something left behind on purpose. She took a photo and sent it to her friend Maya. Maya replied, "Absolutely not. Move." Aisha replied, "It's probably nothing." That night the boiler clicked twice. Not the radiator, not the pipes. The boiler room door at the end of the hall. Click. A pause. Click. Aisha was sitting in bed when she heard it. She turned off her lamp. The apartment went dark. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the radiator in her bedroom hissed, a low, steady release of steam. Then something moved behind the bathroom wall. A soft sliding sound, like a hand dragging across plaster. Aisha did not sleep that night. The next morning, she texted Mr. Bram. She asked if anyone had a reason to access the boiler room late at night. He called, instead of texting back. His voice was too calm. "Why do you ask?" She told him she heard clicking. He said the boiler was old. She told him about the note. Silence. Then he said, "Throw it away." Aisha asked, "Do you know what it means?" He said, "It means the last tenant had problems." "What kind of problems?" "The kind tenants invent when they don't want to pay rent." Aisha did not throw the note away. She put it in a plastic bag and kept it in her drawer. Over the next week, she started noticing a pattern. The boiler clicked twice only after midnight, usually between 1:10 and 1:40 a.m. When it clicked, the bathroom wall made noise. Not every time, but often enough. A slide, a tap, once a faint knock from inside the wall. Aisha began sleeping with the bathroom light on. Then, one morning, she found the light off. She knew she had left it on. She also knew she had locked the bathroom door from the outside using a small hook latch she installed herself. The latch was still hooked. The door was still closed, but the light was off. That meant someone had turned it off from inside the bathroom. or from somewhere behind it. Aisha called Maya. Maya came over that evening. They checked the bathroom together. It was small. Tub, sink, mirror cabinet. A vent near the floor that had been painted over so many times it barely looked functional. Maya crouched and touched the vent. It moved. Not much, but enough. Behind it was darkness. Maya whispered, "Call the police." Aisha called the landlord first. She did not know why. Maybe because she wanted one normal explanation before she involved police. Mr. Bram answered and sounded irritated. When Aisha told him the bathroom vent was loose, he said, "Do not remove anything from the walls." Maya heard him through the speaker. She mouthed, "Police." Aisha hung up and called. The officer who arrived was young but serious. He listened to the story without laughing. The note, the boiler clicks, the bathroom sounds, the vent. He asked where the boiler room was. Aisha showed him. End of the hallway, a gray metal door. Authorized personnel only. Mr. Bram arrived while the officer was inspecting it. He looked angry, not worried. Angry. He told the officer the boiler room was private property. The officer said a tenant had reported possible unauthorized access. Mr. Bram said, "She is nervous." The last one was nervous too. Aisha said, "The last tenant left a warning." Mr. Bram turned to her. For the first time, his polite mask dropped. "You people scare yourselves and blame the building." The officer asked for the boiler room key. Mr. Bram said he didn't have it with him. Then something clicked behind the door. Once. Everyone froze. A second click followed. Aisha backed away from the door. The officer looked at Mr. Bram. "Open it." Mr. Bram didn't move. The officer called for backup. When the second officer arrived, Mr. Bram finally produced the key. The boiler room smelled damp and metallic. The main boiler sat in the middle, old and loud. But behind it was a narrow door Aisha had never seen. It was painted the same gray as the wall. The landlord said it led to old storage. The officer opened it. Behind the door was a crawl space. Low ceiling, concrete floor, pipes overhead, and several access panels leading toward the ground floor apartments. One of the panels had been opened recently. Aisha knew where it led before anyone said it. Her bathroom wall. Inside the crawl space, police found a blanket, a flashlight, a plastic water bottle, a small tool bag, and 3 apartment keys on a ring. One of them opened Aisha's unit. Another opened the boiler room. The third was labeled with a number that had been scratched off. The crawl space also had markings on the wall. Dates, initials, short notes. One of them matched the first initial of the previous tenant whose mail still sometimes arrived at Aisha's apartment. Near the access panel to Aisha's bathroom, someone had written, "She found the note." Aisha felt her legs go weak. Mr. Bram said nothing. Later, police discovered the previous tenant had filed 2 complaints before leaving. Sounds in the walls. The bathroom light turning off. Someone entering while she slept. The complaints had been dismissed as anxiety. Mr. Bram had told everyone she was unstable. That was the family situation. She had not left for family. she had run. Police never proved that Mr. Bram himself had been entering the crawl space at night. That was the part that bothered Aisha most, because the evidence showed access, keys, tools, a hidden route, but not a clean answer. Mr. Bram claimed an old maintenance worker must have used the space. He claimed he knew nothing. He claimed the scratched key ring was not his. But Aisha knew what she had seen on his face when the boiler clicked twice. Not confusion, recognition. She moved out before the month ended. Maya helped her pack. Before leaving, Aisha took the note from the drawer and taped it to the inside of the bathroom mirror cabinet. She knew she probably shouldn't, but she also knew someone else might rent the apartment one day. Someone else might hear the boiler click. Someone else might tell themselves old buildings make strange sounds. So she left the warning where another tenant might find it. He comes when the boiler clicks twice. Most creepy landlord stories are not about one unlocked door. They are about access. Access to keys. Access to records. Access to rooms tenants never see. Access to old service doors, empty units, boiler rooms, and walls that were never as solid as they looked. A renter can change a lock. They can add a chain. They can block a door with a chair. But if someone knows the building better than you do, sometimes the front door is not the entrance they use. That was the missing chapter. Comment which story disturbed you the most. 1, 2, or 3.